You know, when people ask us, how do you keep going with John Wick's, we try to go up in our above the line so it feels bigger. Yes, I shoot anamorphic lenses. I shoot in big locations so it feels bigger. Like, I could spend $200 million shooting little rooms. The movie would feel smaller even though I had more money. Shooting some of the sets we did makes it feel much bigger than the movie really is. And I think that's a little trick.
It's been a pleasure to do all four of them. I've watched it grow and grow. The budget gets bigger, the sets get bigger.
New levels of production design, the scale, the scope, a lot of big rooms, high ceilings.
Even though they're sets, they feel like real places. The team that built these places is phenomenal, you know, and it just really helps immerse you into that space.
I talked to Chad about finding locations that could be anywhere in the world and then treat it as a blank canvas with the right artwork and the right set dressing and the right lighting. Taking what you have and then turning it upside down and creating something. So to me, it's a challenge. I love it.
Kevin Cavanaugh is a brilliant production designer. He comes up with ideas and he runs it. He'll go off and the next day he'll come back and he just expand it like it's like watching mold grow, just expand. Like, oh my God, these are great ideas.
We're trying to introduce this world of continentals all over the world. And each major city has its own look, its own design, its own style. Now we've introduced the Osaka Continental in Japan.
Osaka interior, that was built in, you know, like an old subway station.
I really tried to mix this traditional samurai kind of way of life and their aesthetics and the artwork that dates back to the 1600s. I use that as a base, as a foundation. And what can we do to make it modern day, contemporary? So, for example, the exhibit room, I framed all these old, beautiful rice paper paintings and framed them in glass and put modern frames around them and put them all over the place, as a modern art gallery or modern art space would be. That transition from the interior of the hotel to the exterior streets of Osaka, we figured it'd be great to have them go through a traditional bamboo Zen garden. We took over about 4 or 5 acres of property, and we created our own bamboo that was shipped in from all over Europe. We have over 500 sticks of bamboo with waterfalls and a rock garden and cherry trees. We kind of were able to create our own little backyard to the hotel. It was a fun thing to do.
I think this is a good John Wick world. I'm enjoying my hotel, Osaka Continental, very much.
It comes down to Chad giving me a challenge of creating obstacle courses and what those obstacle courses could be. In John Wick 2, we had like a mirror set. John Wick 3, we had a glass structure. So this one, we chose water. Having obstacles in his way that force him through this maze. And that's really what we try to create.
We built a massive nightclub. We actually found a 3-story building which had holes going through the ceiling from the top floor down that we could put all these water features into.
On the ground level, we put concrete slabs on top of it that they can actually walk on and work on. But underneath, everything, the whole floor, is filled 1 feet with water. So there are a few thousands of gallons of water sitting under the actual floor, you know. And we need this water for all the waterfalls and water curtains. We have around about 60 pumps in here in the whole area. And when all the pumps are running, we pump more than 45,000 gallons of water per minute. And that's a lot.
Most people will be like, well, you'll either do that with visual effects, but we decided to just go the whole hog and build the whole thing through 3 stories, and it was magnificent.
It was really important for Chad, you know, to have the water hiding people. It's a bit like hide and seek. They do not know who is behind there. It's a friend or it's an enemy.
It was just incredibly impressive. And to think, this is my set. This is Killer's set. It was quite exciting.
It's a big movie. We want it to feel big, lots of scale, lots of scope. So not only are the sets incredible, but we're pushing for really iconic locations in Paris. We really want it to be spectacular.
I don't think I've ever worked on a production before where I've been in these opulent, over-the-top, exclusive locations. I've gotten to shoot at Versailles Stables that they shut down for us. Supposedly it's the most expensive location in all of Paris. They shut down the Louvre, which was amazing.
For me, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to act in those sets, to be in that cinema.
What's the Bob Fosse quote? You know, half of directing is coming up with really crazy ideas, and the other 50% is finding people crazy enough to pull them off. I have to get my entire crew of, 100 strong to trust me enough to go down this road and give me everything they got. I think that's the main thing, is we trust each other enough to step off the cliff together.
Prepping the top shot, you almost had to choreograph all the pieces like a live show. I realized this was a whole nother beast because you can't hide in cuts.
The top shot, it's something we never seen in a movie before. We had to work first on models and references from video games because that was really the reference Chad wanted to bring.
I say these John Wick films for Chad and I are like we prepare a meal. It's like we're the chefs. He's the head chef, I'm the sous chef. I would find the ingredients, we're putting it together.
Boom, coming around. Now this guy, Keanu's gotta be coming out a little sooner. So flashlight action go. Go back to the beginning.
It is really more of an art piece, something visually different.
The top shot is an amazing sequence. We took a 4-point cable cam, tracking John Wick up the stairs. It gives us a whole world we really haven't seen before to play with.
You're in the John Wick world, but now we're looking at it differently, and we're having different tools.
You get to see cause and effect. We get to see the bad guys before John Wick gets to see the bad guys. Guys coming from the left instead of the right, and from behind him.
He's got to move around, he's got to kill 30 people in one shot. Then we have to make a seamless cut to another shot.
30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Well, now it's how do we hold a top shot, make it interesting, choreograph everything to it.
41. Cut.
All it was about was finding chances to show Keanu is kind of horizontal so you can see his face. Because everything's at the top of his head at this point. You have to make sure every bullet hit, every reaction is timed perfectly.
3, 2, 1, go!
John Wick uses TTI. He uses Terran Tactical Innovations guns.
He's got this shotgun blasting out fire.
It is a Genesis 10-shot shotgun. This gun is freaking amazing.
To highlight that and to figure out how to stitch it all together and marry the choreography and the timing and the fire and the dog. It's a different take on John Wick doing what John Wick does.
Chad and Keanu are both in sync. These guys can finish each other's sentences. And these guys make you raise your game.
And they're both completely dedicated to these films. Chad has basically given his life to the Wick movies the last 7 years. He's not directed anything else. Keanu kind of pops in and pops out and is able to do other things, but really at the core, I think this is who they are.
We did the first John Wick almost on a dare. We all had good careers going, and Keanu had got a script that could have gone many different directions. And it wasn't until John Wick 4 that I realized that it's not the movie I intended to make. It's not the series I intended to make. It's not the character I intended to make. Somewhere between 1 and 4, it just became its own thing. I'll write a phrase or I'll write a scene, then you see it up and you see people clap, and kind of hit you for a second. But then you remember the genesis of that idea and how it actually happened, and half of them are luck. Half of them are nowhere near what I wrote down on that piece of paper. It's the way Keanu plays, the way the other actors interact, the way the stunt guys go, the way the camera moves. It's all these little happy accidents that come together, and it takes on its own life.
I met Chad Stahelski when I was training for The Matrix, and they were looking for stunt doubles.
I stumbled upon jackpot with The Matrix because I became Keanu Reeves' stunt double. To have somebody that put that much of himself in it was unheard of. And to see how much he cared. How could you possibly go to work every day with this guy if you gave even this much less than he did? The challenge was to give this much more than he did, which was not easy.
Chad went on to do second unit work, second unit directing, action design, started his own company, then co-directed John Wick. And so that's really where it shifted to Chad as a director, a producer, and working on the John Wick stories and what they would be.
What I've seen from Chad over the years is that he's evolved from, oh wow, that's the ex-stunt double of Keanu Reeves from The Matrix, to the best action director in Hollywood in the last 15, 20 years.
Well done. Well done. Chad and Keanu have known each other forever, and that deep trust and bond that they have with each other has been there since day one. It's why Chad is here directing John Wick 4. I think there's very few franchises that have the consistency that we have with this core team of director, star.
Chad has directed Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and now Chapter 4. His take on action and the way that action and drama and story have to kind of go hand in hand is my taste.
Keanu loves this franchise so much. I mean, he's in every script meeting. He's part of the casting discussions. He has come up with a lot of the best story ideas.
Here's Killer coming. Oh, fuck!
I love working with Keanu Reeves. I think he's one of the best creative, collaborative partners I could have ever wanted, let alone imagined. The fact that he puts so much of himself into John Wick is not just his professionalism, it's because he actually loves it.
We've been in that awesome position where after the first one, we thought, what else could John Wick do? We've always tried to be true and honest to the character and who they are.
John Wick doesn't come from a pre-existing IP, so we don't have to adhere to certain rules or lore or mythology that was established 50 years ago. It's from us. So every prop, set piece of graffiti on the wall, and line of dialogue is coming from myself or Keanu or from our creative writing team.
I mean, I could have brought it closer.
Do it on this one. Now we're in our fourth one. I think we've built the trust with each other to go beyond what we both feel safe doing.
And action, guy goes, put on.
I have to get my entire crew of, 100 strong to trust me enough to go down this road and give me everything they got. And it starts with Keanu. I think that's the main thing, is we trust each other enough to step off the cliff together.
What I love about it is everybody's so passionate. It's really a spectacle to be in a space like that, and a blessing to be able to work at that level with people who are masters at their craft.
It's a pleasure to work always with Keanu and with Chad, and it doesn't get stale. It's not the same movie all the time. It grows, it continues. The budget gets bigger, the sets get bigger, the films get better.
These are those kind of movies that you can revisit again and again and again, that they're just always fun to watch. This world of John Wick is just so much fun and so cool visually. The opportunity to do those kind of things and do them well, that's the shit, man.
Making these films is so unique and special each time, and it's been so great to partner up with Chad to make them. It hits us all the time, we're like, oh my God, we try to soak it in,
The answer to the question, why can't I do John Wick, is because we love them. And when we get done with it, good, bad, right, wrong, you like it, you don't like it, every choice in a John Wick movie is from myself or Keanu. Whether you think we make good choices or bad choices, there are choices. I like the world. John Wick has elements of things in it that I grew up watching. It has a sensibility of a Western, of a samurai movie, of a wuxia kung fu film. It has fantasy, it has lore, it has discipline, it has a code. It's like chivalrous. It has an underworld side. It has mythology. It's got car chases, Like, what other franchise can you put, 70 styles car chases, So it didn't exist, and then we got to make it exist.
What was important to them was to not be repetitive. 2 was honor the character, 3 was honor the world, and 4 was give the audiences a little bit more. They felt that they needed to expand this universe.
What I love the most about the Wick worlds too is where you get a taste of John Wick's past.
I firmly believe that Keanu, while he is developing, prepping, and making this movie, he has convinced himself that this world is real. And Chad is very much the same.
Keanu and I discussed it ad nauseum many, many times. John Wick doesn't know he's in a movie. John Wick believes he is John Wick. And Keanu puts on the suit, he believes he is that guy. Like, that's the anchor. So we were very clear, like, this is the tone. There's only one guy that doesn't know it's a movie, and that's our guy. And the cast follows Keanu. They go, well, if he's taking it serious, I'm gonna take it serious. And then we make fun of ourselves. It's that simple. Like, that's the only true north we stay by.
The 3 movies had been squarely on John Wick. And from the beginning, they knew that they wanted to create a film that showcased other characters, and through those characters, showcased the world.
Chad really had wanted to make this movie of an homage to Westerns. And so he wanted to have this character, Kane, who's a sort of Chinese nemesis that trained John Wick in a way. And then this other character, the tracker, that is paid to find him and, you know, is basically a mercenary. So finding this character that you can still have some empathy with was a very difficult and long process to find. So we found the actor Shamir Anderson to play this role.
I don't know you, but I know you. I had no idea about John Wick or who Keanu Reeves was, or no, I'm joking, come on, who hasn't? No, I was definitely well aware of the John Wick franchise. And like Keanu Reeves, who's such a legend, people are familiar with him, they've seen his body of work. So I think there's that attraction and that built-in fan base, but also it's a great story. It's super simple, you know, that redemption story, that revenge, you know, but this movie has introduced a lot of new characters, a lot of new faces, a lot of new people. I play Tracker, and it's funny, even though John Wick is on his storyline, Tracker's in Tracker's world. This man's a lone ranger. You know, Tracker doesn't care less what other characters are doing or what's happening in the world. Tracker's on his mission, and his mission is John Wick, similar to others, but Tracker's been doing this. He's a professional tracker. And in my backstory and in my development of this character, I said to Chad, I pitched to him, I said, what if this guy's been tracking him since the first John Wick? You know, and so that's kind of something that I've implemented.
Like from Shamir Anderson to Rina Samayama, you know, anybody that's done action in the movie, they're already coming in with a certain knowledge and expectation of what's going to be asked of them and what we do ask of people.
He had to work with the dog every day, so he's had to become very, very familiar with these dogs and spend a lot of time with these dogs. So he's been very dedicated to what he's doing as well.
君の安らぎを見つけたのか。
To work with Chad with just the vision, story, and action. His take on action and the way that action and drama and story have to kind of go hand in hand is my taste. And it's been great to have a creative collaborator like that.
First act of the movie was always in Japan, and both Keanu and Chad have a huge affinity for Japan, and so it was really important to both of them.
Welcome to the Osaka Continental. How can I help?
Yeah, I'm looking for a room.
The incomparable Rina Sawayama, and she's playing Akira.
I'm afraid this facility doesn't allow animals.
Emotional support animal.
To have Rina Samayama, who I found her on YouTube. Literally, I was trying to I could not find. I just wanted something different. It's hard to explain when you're casting about what you're looking for. But he literally typed in, I don't know why, it was Japanese pop stars. And there was 2 days of looking like that, and I just remember it was like 9 o'clock at night. I was in my Berlin office and just hit the search button, and it just came up. And then there's this funky video of Rena with like an orange wig on and all this stuff. And I was like, oh.
The honest truth is, this was a very big surprise to me, the casting. I am a musician and I have music videos, and I've always loved acting, so I've acted in my music videos and I co-direct my music videos and I create dialogue, and I've even done a small fight scene in my music video called Bad Friend, which I really, really enjoyed, and I was thinking it would be so cool if I can do action, it'd be amazing. And then I got a call from Chad and he wanted to speak to me.
She was like, I've never acted before. I'm like, sure you have. Every time you get on camera, like, you're great. And I'm like, look, let me send you the script, let me send you the scenes, and we went back and forth several times. To her own humility, she's like, I really don't know. This seems fun, but like, I don't want to mess up your movie. I'm like, hard to say. I just had a good feeling.
So load that thing, pretend shit's going on. I gotta get out of here. Tighter, banana. Oh, fire. Go, get the... Everything just a little bit more intense. Good for first one, tighten everything up.
She's amazingly talented with a will and a drive to succeed. She's professional beyond words and a great human being. So when she comes there and she tries as hard as she does, you'll get good results.
And action.
I'm a huge fan of action movies in general. So yeah, I had seen John Wick. I hadn't seen John Wick 3, I had seen the first two. So when I got the casting call for this, I quickly watched John Wick 3 and it was amazing.
Usually for us, when you're looking for people to do a little bit of action, you start with people that can dance, like people that can remember choreography and have dance. What we do is far more like dance than martial arts. So rather than look to, female martial artists, we'll look to female dancers or perhaps somebody that has that kind of thing.
And Chad pretty much said, here is how it is. It's really hard training. You're gonna have to keep up with Keanu and me. I do really long takes. And I was like, absolutely. Chad said, be careful. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be really intense. There's lots of training. And I said, yes. And so I threw myself into it completely. And I really didn't know much about action choreography, fight choreography, nothing like that. And to work with the best, the A711 team, is incredible. Not over yet. I met Keanu in the gym when we first started training, so I was training for about 5 weeks before we started filming, and I know that Keanu had been there for weeks or months before I had been there. It was crazy. I was just training just a little bit far away from him every single day, and he's so nice. It's like true what they say. He's so humble, so lovely, so down to earth. Very zen, like very, peaceful. And he just gave me really, really good advice on how to get through the action sequences, because he was like, it's no joke.
You're not quite done yet. Yep.
I've always wanted to do archery, so when that was part of my action choreography, I was so excited, and that was part of the character. Akira's main fighting weapons is a knife. I think it's a switchblade and a bow and arrow. It was intense. It was 5 hours a day physical training for 5 weeks. And it was so hard. I've never sweat so much in my life, but there was not a single day that I didn't want to come in. So I wanted to have that challenge every single day. Oh my God. Harder than it looks. I keep telling you.
No ball.
The way that Hiroyuki worked with Rina and the way Rina just connected with him, they became father and daughter. And I'm sure you'll see in the behind the scenes, just was like, the way they did that was really good.
What was really great is that Hiroyuki really took her under his wing. When we showed up, we started doing rehearsals. He knew she was a relatively novice actor, so he really took the time to work with her. And I think that really helped her performance, but also built their bond together. So at the end, when we wrapped and we killed him, she was crying. Like, we were all very upset. We had watched these two become father and daughter.
For her, he tried to choose a more peaceful life, having time with her.
Hiroyuki's is a very paternal style to him, and he's like this great sort of, Papa Bear. I think everyone felt that way. But the two of them really connected, and I think when he dies on screen, you'll feel really upset, and I think you'll want more of Akira.
We wanted to show the world on multiple temporal levels. Young People sort of like coming into this world, people already in this world, people at the top of their game or trying to get out of this world. She represented someone who is on the younger side, the next generation, if you will. And we wanted to create a somewhat complicated relationship between her and her father. Her father loves her very much. She is a part of this world, but he doesn't really want her to be a part of this world. There is no escaping this world. It's the theme of the John Wick franchise. It's like, how do you get out?
John Wick, I mean, he had his ticket torn, but where can he go? And he need to be sponsored by my family, the Ruska Roma. We meet the incredible Natalia Tena.
She knows how to wield her power. A Roma woman in this kind of position of power is big. I was very interested in the female side of it because I started studying a lot about Roma culture, and it's a very patriarchal society. To kind of be the alpha of that and a woman, she's got a big set of ovaries, basically. Originally, John Wick was meant to be my half-brother, and we shared a dad, Piotr, who's been shot. And it's like, no, I think it's better if it's extended family, so we're both cousins. Because of John Wick's actions, my dad's been killed. I have taken the mantle, and I'm now kind of the queen of the Romas.
The Marquis is played by Bill Skarsgård, who's fantastic.
You are no longer New York.
He is larger than life, and he is incredibly wealthy and incredibly powerful, to the point that if he wants to go and see an opera or a ballet, he can buy out the ballet and he can be the only person there.
What I love about Bill, for the Marquis, who we needed to be one of the most loathsome characters in all 4 movies, someone to be hated so much, to be so happy when he died. We wanted to go with youthful punk. We wanted also to go with that great face that is able to express kind of a fake formalism that we have, clean cut, and we're mannered, classy.
Of course.
And a politeness.
Je suis impressionné.
But in some ways, those are the ones you hate the most.
He's sort of the new sheriff in town. He's appointed at a high position to, surprise, surprise, track down and kill John Wick. And he's kind of been elevated to this position, and he's off his leash, which means that he could basically implement whatever to get it done.
We made a conscious decision to bring some youth in, not because we were trying to play to the audience, but just to see the contrast he has with Ian McShane and Lance Reddick. You're just gonna hate him.
All of our scenes with him are in these magnificent locations. Every building that we went to had to have a magnificent magnitude to it, that it was a character in the film, and you had to feel his power and his presence. Unlike many movies that would just say, okay, we're going to block shoot you, and we're going to figure out whatever it is that we have to figure out to shoot everything in this one place. These actors have agreed to sort of be with us and travel to the different countries with us and be in the actual environments, which makes the authenticity of John Wick so real. There's no sort of like, okay, we'll shoot you again, it's a green screen, and pretend that you were in Paris. We're actually taking them to all these places, which is, I think, what makes John Wick so real.
In chapter 4, why do it? I had some initial ideas. My primary contribution in the beginning of preparing the meal was that John Wick would die. And when I said that to Chad, he was like, yeah. So in the film, what we came up with was this idea of a duel.
Chad is deeply inspired by Westerns and Japanese films and sort of the idea of making a good, the bad, and the ugly. And this duel, this sort of iconic fight.
It starts off with, hey, I have this scene in my head. Let's do something like an old Western. Let's do like an old Western duel.
It was something that we all pictured and thought would be so incredible to modernize.
So this idea of the old laws, the old rules, and this idea of a duel. We've always tried to be true and honest to the character and who they are and to the world. That to me felt like the truth.
This movie, it's literally from the id of Chad Stahelski. Everything about it is the stuff that his dreams are made of. We have really pushed the envelope.
We took movies that we liked and we infused them into this movie.
And it's a heck of a lot of fun to dream up stuff for John Wick. And so, hopefully you'll enjoy Chapter 4.
There's no protagonist, it's just we have antagonists. And that's the fun part. And that fits into our Wiccan world where there are no good guys, period. There's just better bad guys. Like, Wick is not a technically good guy. He's an assassin. Like, he's living in this world. He just happens to have a code in this world that we feel attracted to. We fell in love with the idea of samurai code of ethics. People within the samurai class, only a samurai would know another samurai, what that is. Just like, no matter how close you are to your friend or your wife or your mother or father, if you're a police officer, cops know cops. A soldier knows a soldier. Even if I'm wearing different sides of the conflict, there's a bonding that only two people that live through a commonality or a situation can experience. It's the burden of the life that John Wick leads. The only people he can really bond with are other people in that world that come from a similar background.
But John Wick doesn't have many friends left in this world. But there is a man, Shimazu, the manager of the Osaka Continental.
He grown up with John Wick like a brother. They train each other and sometimes helping each other. Shimazu has a kind of Bushido spirit. He has a loyalty to John Wick.
Kane, Donnie Yen has a past with John Wick from the Killing days.
There's a mirror image of John. He's a man who was once lethal, well, still is, but had made a tremendous sacrifice because he did what you're not supposed to do in this world. He loved. You know, John loved his wife. Kane had a daughter and loved his daughter. He was close to John back in the day when they were both active. They don't have any personal animosity to each other. But sometimes it's not about a good and a bad guy. Sometimes it's about two characters that have contrary agendas that unfortunately can't coexist. One of the under-discussed aspects of the John Wick franchise is that we pay an enormous amount of attention to the aesthetic and an enormous amount of attention to the wardrobe. And I think Chad Stahelski is the best action director in Hollywood in the last 15, 20 years. And for such a rough and tumble action guy, he appreciates the beauty of cinema and the beauty of the image.
In the other movies, John Wick is always dressed in black. And Chad wanted to bring light into it, and we have found this material. It's a fabric that has diamond particles inside, and then it makes it have a certain shine. In Shimazu's world, we tried to put together two ideas, Japan and the countries in the West. That's the reason he wears westernized clothes, but then on top of that, he wears like a haori, that is a traditional Japanese garment. And his haori, we designed it from ideas of the sea that almost is like about to be in a storm. I thought that the metaphor of a storm in the sea was like quite good for that.
Paco is incredible, and I said to him, I want to make it old-fashioned, and Paco was totally on board with that. But what that meant was snatched corsets, which was slightly hard to breathe in sometimes, but it's okay, you know, it looked good, it looked good. It made my posture real nice and gave me that concierge feel.
She wears like an idea of a kimono, and then obviously she needs to be a fighter as well. So we came up with this idea of having her in this leather bodysuit, but also feminine with a little bit of a skirting. Natalia Tena, she brought a lot of energy into the character. I had a completely different idea to show her a little bit more masculine. But then she came into the first fitting, and I immediately saw that that wasn't working. And then suddenly we thought it might be better to go the opposite, to make her powerful, but very feminine.
When I came in, we had another option, and then he just pulled this out of the bag. They just have reams of this. Yeah, great.
Building the tracker's wardrobe, we didn't have really an idea for this guy. You know, we went through a variation of character choices, from leather pants at one point to maybe a fedora, and it took some time.
The tracker I find very, very interesting character because at the beginning it comes through like a mercenary, but at the end of the movie, all your sympathies go with him because he is somehow very humane. Then I just wanted to reflect that. We wanted to show a person who was a wanderer, and he looks organic, like down to earth. Chad had a very clear idea that he wanted the marquee fighters to be in suits with short legs and with boots. And the whole idea was to pretend that these suits were almost like armor, like an old knight.
ミルミドンの人たちは防弾の服は着てるけど、頭とかは出てるんで、格闘技とかそういうスキルもいろいろ持ってる。ハイテーブルと言われるタクティカルガード、スワットみたいな見た目の人たちは銃弾が効かないんで、何もひるまずひたすら進んでいくっていうような感じ。
In the case of Kane, played by Donnie Yen, I tried to fix his designs in what he is, a killer, because both Kane and John Wick, they are wearing a black suit and they are almost the same. They are like father and son or brother and brother in a way, and they fight each other, but not because they want to. They will rather be on the same side.
The Marquis is played by Bill Skarsgård, and you had to feel his power and his presence. And the outfits that he's wearing really do that and are magnificent. Some of them are hand-painted, some of them are hand-embroidered, and the level of detail that went into his outfits was just incredible.
With the character of the Marquis, I just knew right off the bat I wanted, a certain type of wardrobe. I know I wanted to change suits every time. I wanted this opulence that is almost comical to a point. We're gonna do a triple Windsor knot. I'm gonna put silver thread in your clothes. It's gonna kick light.
There's a lot of black suits with black ties in this franchise, and the Marquis gives it a little bit more of a sparkle, I guess. It's glitter and gold, so what's not to like about it?
Chad has a very stylish vision of movies, and I know how important his costumes for him is. And that's really invaluable, working with a director that thinks that costumes are very, very important to explain the story of the movie.
I love fashion and wardrobe and playing with that. And Keanu and I discussed it ad nauseum many, many times. John Wick doesn't know he's in a movie. John Wick believes he is John Wick. And Keanu puts on the suit, he believes he is that guy. Like, that's the anchor.
Chad really hooked into this idea of trying to study John Wick through the situations of other characters, and he was really drawn to the good, the bad, and the ugly. So entered the man, the myth, the legend, Donnie Yen as Kane. Such an honor to work with him, and he's such a special person. It's been cool to get to be on the floor with him and to act with him. What he's doing with the character Kane is very special, fun.
We always lamented that we didn't have an antagonist that was better than John. What's really interesting about Kane, it's by far the biggest role we've had other than John throughout the 4 films. In terms of screen time, in terms of arc, but we wanted somebody who we, the audience, felt John's not gonna be this guy. And there aren't a lot of people in the world that can do that.
I believe in fate, destiny, right? That's what happened to many of my previous movies. Some of them became decently successful, all out of unexpected circumstances and timing, right? So actually, me and the producer, Basil, we are developing this project.
As soon as I called him, I said, in theory, are you interested in John Wick? He's like, yes.
Out of nowhere, right? He said, Donnie, would you like to be in it? I said, well, it depends, right? Depends on the role and in the script. And just got on the phone and spoke to Chad, and they really made me feel comfortable and felt I think I can do something with this new character in their universe. And it was just an ongoing process. It was back and forth for a couple of weeks. And I was convinced, and I said, all right, I'll do it. I trust you, So got on a plane and went to Germany.
Oh my God, Donnie Yen's interested in being in a John Wick film. My version was more like Zantuichi, you blind, stumbling masseuse guy, that kind of guy. And after my first creative talk with Donnie, it was like, I don't want to play him like that. I want to be way cooler.
When I'm back home, when I'm with my most comfortable environment with my colleagues, Asian filmmakers, right? They don't understand me as much as Chad does. And that's a compliment to him. And I told him that. I said, it's very interesting that you understand where I'm coming from. And I understand where he's coming from.
He wanted to be inspiring. He wanted to be positive. He didn't want to be the stereotypical blind swordsman as it's been played in the past.
Actually, I was kind of against that in the beginning. When he said, he's blind. That was before I went to Berlin, right? I said, I've done that in Rogue One, in Star Wars, right? I played the blind man before, you know? Do you really want to go there? How am I going to react, right? How am I going to bring what I wanted to achieve, that full, complex character? It's challenging. I'm still finding some...
And Donnie came at it very hard. Like, look, man, for myself, I got to do something different. I want to add, like, I want to go to the extremes in this. Like, I can play it like this tripping blind guy, or I can just be assumed that I'm so fucking good that I have to do that. I'm like, okay, let's start with that. Let's start with, we're not going to do the traditional blind guys. We're not going to do the tappy, all this stuff. Yeah. Then you're like, do a little, you can do your hearing thing, and then it's like, should have stayed out, try to find it.
Stayed out. This is John Wick. We need to create John Wick work, and he has to be a very skilled martial artist assassin. He sent me some pictures. What do you think? How does he picture this Kane? And I told him, well, I see him stylish. Steve McQueen, Bruce Lee. And I said, remember Bruce Lee during the black and white interview with the skinny tie and the black suit and everything?
Just give you a little Bruce Lee-ish here, a little Enter the Dragon.
He dresses well, you know, he expresses himself, you know, he doesn't take any shit, you know, he curses, you know. That's another thing. I said, look, why can't he curse? You know, he got a temper. You know?
Come on, John.
Come on, John. I'm a fucking blind man, man. Come on, get out here. Let's end this.
Well, either way, I think it's a good chance for him to stop.
Let's get this over with. Let's get this shit over with. Let's get my fucking dumb shit.
And at the end, we just both created this character together.
That kind of changed just from a Zatoichi replica to a whole new character that went well beyond anything I had planned. So, like, thank you, Donnie.
We started to settle in a bit of what this character is about. Then the action came.
He's the one starting it off going, okay, so how do we do this? Because, like, I can do wuja, and he'll fling the sword, and, like, really fast, and if I was blind, I'd have to flurry more and keep people at bay.
You know, he's blind, but then he's very skillful. But then I'm trying to bring him down where he's not a Marvel character. He's human, you know? Eat a bowl of noodles, you know? He's hungry, you know? You get tired, you get beat up, you know?
And just through conversation, we kind of came up with the way I want to move.
When people look at my films, it's like, how did you do that? It's like the musicians, like jazz. How do I explain to you why am I playing this notes, this passage? Because it's my feeling. In my case, you gotta be a well-trained, not only as a martial artist, but as an action actor. So my body just kind of turns on.
Here's a funny story. So they do all this choreography. Donnie Yen's flying over, so I'm learning with Koji choreography and a fight scene with the swords. Well, Donnie, you know, he's a jazz artist. So he comes out and just starts. My character would do this, and I was supposed to do this block and then come in and then disengage. And I literally went, fuck that, right? Because he's just going. He's like super fast. And I was like, to Chad, I'm like, we can't do the choreography. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm gonna block and then come at him and then come with a pistol and he's gonna knock it. And I'm like, Donnie. He's like, I know. I'm like, it's not gonna. So we just made it up.
It makes more sense. It's like, instead of blocking, you shoot, and I shoot, it's like I shoot. It looks very childish. Yeah, that's more real, you know? Yeah, you push. Yeah, it's more real. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's just more raw.
So basically, he comes flying out. I just call it bees. Like John just retreats, and he's like trying to fire, and then like blades, and it was cool. It was just a kind of like organic character moment.
Donnie will always have Donnie input, and if you over prepare for what you think Donnie should look like, he's always gonna flip it on his back because Donnie's an artist. A lot of the stunt guys are like, if you haven't worked with Donnie before, be ready. And some of the stunt guys weren't ready, but I think that helps us too because it made a lot of natural reactions.
When Donnie and Sanada-san, they have a fight to the death. It was amazing to watch Donnie and Hiroyuki work that out. Because they are both no joke. They are no joke.
With Donnie, it's my very first time working with him. but we share the same friends like Jackie or the stunt guys. Also, I'm watching his movies. So those kind of things make me feel, no, it's not the first time, right? So feel like long friend.
I'm going to put you at 32 frames, you're going to look great.
So maybe we can use that chemistry into the movie. So I'm really enjoying working with him.
John Wick! You did it, hero, you did it!
Making a good film, like, or being partners with your fellow actors, right? You gotta have that kind of trust and relationship, invested in that relationship in order to bring the best out of each other. That's how I feel with Chad, even though this is my first time working with him, but there's certain trust and understanding. My favorite thing, just being around with good people. Being around with good people, having laughters, and they allow me to be creative, which I love, because I like to create if you allow me to. I'm having fun, you know, like a kid in a candy store. I like to think and hope that I have a bit of contribution to the John Wick franchise. That's new and very refreshing. I hope this will be as successful, if not more, as the last three.
The most important shot of the night is the first shot. I want to get there, and whatever it is, I'm going to clear my head and go, fuck it. I'm going to make this the prettiest shot of the night.
We're shooting nights, and we have more toys and tools than anything I've ever done before.
The entire movie takes place at night, so it's really sexy.
You know, we've been to Rome, we've been to New York, we've been to Morocco, and Paris. We always look for cities that have a sense that are completely different at night than they are during the day. But Paris is amazing during the day, but it's a completely different city at night.
Okay, Jeremy, as soon as those pads are on to another rehearsal.
I think night allows us to sculpt, and when you have a cinematographer like Dan Louston and the team we have to sculpt and chop the city up into parts at night, it gives you an opportunity to do things that you can't get away with during the daytime.
Action.
I was happy to have all these beautiful locations on a movie like John Wick. The lights on John Wick are very special. It's like making new pictures from Paris. Having sets like the Sacré-Cœur for prepared all that stunts, that's amazing.
I have to say, I think the French authorities and the French crews have been incredible in what they've allowed us to do. We have closed Sacré-Cœur for 6 nights. We're shooting huge action sequences in the environments that they were meant to be shot in, you know, so I think that's pretty crazy. Most movies wouldn't do that.
To shoot on that staircase by Sacré-Cœur, I am in awe of filmmaking and stunts to go all the way up, to go all the way down. Just don't stay down. And that's what the staircase is. Literally, we wrote that with that exact stop in mind. Like, there's 424 stairs, he's just gonna do 425 steps. Done. Don't care how many times it takes.
Even if your mind is good, your bodies are tired, but we will figure it out to be with you. Who wants to be killed by John Wick? Qui va être tué par John Wick? Voilà, c'est la bonne question.
You always get hurt, you know, you always get hurt. You gotta watch yourself. I have to watch myself, I don't wanna get hurt. But working with Keanu, I know that he's well-trained, you know, trains a lot, and he has all these experience, and I know that I'm in safe hands.
If they want to change a choreography on the day, this is something they can do. They can go really fast. They know exactly what the actor can do. It's challenging on the beginning because you have to meet everybody, learn from everybody, but at least at the end of the movie, everybody is just like a big team.
The stunt coordinators are phenomenal. Steve Dunleavy, who's with us all the time, who's fantastic. And then we have Laurent, who's our French coordinator, and he's also a fight choreographer. Stunt coordinators that are with us and have been with us working through all of these different sequences. And it takes an enormous amount of time and an enormous amount of people to figure out how to do that. And then to train with the actors, you have to have like a core group of stunt and fight coordinators that work with them all the time. It's like having a dance partner. We've had 40 stunt performers training for this sequence that we're doing this week. It's just like a constant moving goalpost.
This is John Wick's last hurrah, and he knows it's the end of the line. He's got one mission, he's gonna finish it whether he ends up alive or dead. At the end of it, it's kind of a mad sprint to the end.
We have 300 steps that just go into the sky, and we gotta fight up them. We gotta fight back down, and we gotta fight up them again. If you've seen the Sacré-Cœur stairs, it's a pretty steep staircase. And the wonderful thing about that, there's so much to play with. We have ramps on the sides with trees. There's people getting shot and getting chipped off ramps in trees and down railings and over the sides.
We always say, you know, in John Wick with the martial arts, it's not the gun or the stick or the knife or the sword is an extension of your arm, it's an extension of your will. And if there's one word that would describe John Wick, it's willpower. Like, the guy will not stay down. When he should, when, you know, people say he's not indestructible. He just gets up. He gets knocked down 1,000 times and just gets up 1,001.
Keanu Reeves reacts very fast, so you have to bring all the best people you can have. If the main actor can do it, you will be able, as a stunt performer, to do it. So you have to bring all the best people you have.
Keanu, he takes the hits, he takes the falls, and Chad wants to go very extreme with the shots, and he wants to show as much real, you know. Then he doesn't want to limit himself on having to, like, being cutting away or hiding all the time, the actor.
Try to use the doubles as little as possible, and don't like a lot of cuts. Want you to see, you know, that's Hiroyuki Sanada and Donnie Yen dueling with swords. That's Keanu Reeves and Donnie Yen dueling with swords and guns. And like, oh, John Wick, man, it could have been a great action shit. No, I want to be the best action, period. Like, I just want you to sit back and be the funnest. I want to be the best.
It's a labor of love doing a John Wick film.
I'm putting everybody through pain.
Keanu embodies John Wick. He's dedicated to that role, and he lives and breathes that role when he's doing it.
Yes.
Making a John Wick movie is all about, like, the sacrifice that Keanu Reeves puts in. We did 14 weeks of rehearsals.
It starts with him and I. I'm making Keanu Reeves train for 6 months. If Keanu doesn't get better, and by better I mean expands his role, he tries different things, like physically he gets better.
Keanu was coming in every day. Keanu's just hitting the mat, prepping for this role.
The training was like 3 times a week, and then when we got to Berlin, the training was 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. So it was a 2-hour morning session, lunch, 2-hour afternoon session.
Here we go, background, 3, 2, 1, action!
The fights are intense, everything's intense, but what you see on the screen pays off.
I worked with Dave Camarillo, Bruce Concepcion, Chong Li, and Jeremy Marines. And that 5 has been the core team.
Working with Keanu is great because he likes fresh ideas and he'll go with it, but you have to have a reason why. Gonna go there instead of in there. That's what stands out when he does fight stuff. Whether it's I had to muzzle punch you because I was out of bullets, or I was in the middle of shooting 3 guys, and it's quick decision making. And whenever he gets the why he's doing certain choreography, it really shows in his performance.
Keanu's physicality in these movies is fucking staggering. The amount of stamina that is required, the amount of just sheer kind of energy.
Keanu Reeves is the 1% that can do this. He is an active part of the choreography team. He spent more hours with the choreography teams than, I would say, 90% of stunt performers out there.
I think of myself as the limit. Everything that I can't do brings the vision down.
Ready, and action!
One of the great things about John Wick is the tactical element and the realism that we try to bring to it.
Is an iconic gun person.
He's one of the fastest, one of the most accurate people, so changing weapons and being able to use different weapon platforms, we've had to up that level of tactical expertise and adapt it for each film.
He really gets into the minutia of what he's doing, whether it's handling a gun, how it loads, reloads, where his hand goes, because he really likes to dive deep into the nuances of it.
Taryn Butler, worked with me with all of the weapons and the pistols and shotguns.
Taryn Butler wanted to give him something for this installment of Wick that was a little different. This is called a Pit Viper. It's a great looking gun. Keanu specifically asked for this during one of the training sessions. He said, can I get an MPX? Some bad guy will have this, and he'll take it and he'll lay waste on people.
Ready? And action!
In John Wick 4, we get to play with so many different tools.
The one thing that Chad had in his head, he had nunchucks. But it couldn't just be nunchucks. It had to be nunchucks, but how do you use that with a pistol?
We had a solid 6 months of him learning how to train with nunchucks, but a lot of times it was also mixed in with the judo and jiu-jitsu. So he's doing nunchucks and gun at the same time, mixing it with jiu-jitsu at the same time. It was definitely a learning curve because it's like, how do you put enough nunchucks to make everybody interested and excited, but not too much where it becomes another nunchuck sequence?
Jeremy broke down the Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon with the nunchuck sequence, so that was my warm-up sequence.
Instead of making it a scene about nunchucks, it became another set of his platform. So part of his platform is having his handgun and reloading with the handgun. Well, in between reloads, when he's out of bullets, he can use this hand to hit with the nunchucks. And we just kind of made it second nature to where every time he put his nunchucks around his neck, it was kind of like holstering his gun. So it looked like he was going from a primary to a secondary weapon.
We'd do these threads where I have nunchucks and I have to like hit and do different, different holstering, and then threads with guns and then hitting and disarms and go throw. It's been great to have a creative team to help put me in positions and situations that are dramatic and with action, and coming out of that, we came up with terms like gun fu and car fu. And with this character, John Wick, taking these different styles, what you can do with him. Yes, of course he can drive a car and shoot out the window, or have a pistol and do judo and jiu-jitsu. It's been great to, over the course of these chapters, to be able to continue to world build and to continue to innovate with the character. I enjoy trying to realize the vision. Chad really hooked into this idea of trying to study John Wick through the situations of other films.
John Wick has elements of things in it that I grew up watching. It has a sensibility of a Western, of a samurai movie, of a wuxia kung fu film. It has underworld side. It has mythology. It's got car chases, Keanu and I love the inspirations behind the John Wicks, the movies that we love.
We have really good film talks. We go off and talking about all kinds of films, from cinema, paradiso, to anything, right? We talk about characters, talk about these actors.
I am a massive David Lean fan. So that's Lawrence of Arabia, so check the desert box. Obviously, I've got a fetish for deserts. You get to actually do a horse chase in the Jordanian desert in Aqaba, where they shot Lawrence of Arabia. Just to be there and see Lawrence Fishburne blow out a match, like Pure O'Toole, is worth all the pain and suffering of directing for the last 10 years, for sure.
Chad makes references that I get. He'll talk to me about a movie. He'll say, a little bit of this and that, a little bit from this movie, a little bit from that movie. I'll be like, oh, yes, I get it.
Chad is, I guess, a cinephile. Between he and Keanu, they're pretty much a library of a repository of films. 70s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s.
Chad was really drawn to the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So one of the initial ideas when we were kind of thinking about what would be in John Wick 4 was this duel. Sort of iconic fight was something that we all pictured and thought would be so incredible to modernize and use Paris as the backdrop.
And I think that Chad and Keanu wanted to sort of tap into John Wick being a Western and John Wick as a Western character. He's also Westerns and samurai films.
Western, Eastern, mixing together. So unique. And then also perfect matching for the John Wick world.
I can see it's very heavily influenced by the Kung Fu movies.
Just give you a little Enter the Dragon. Let's get this shit over with.
Jeremy broke down the Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon with the nunchuck sequence.
Being able to put in as many contact hits as we can without it whipping back and hitting Keanu, and being able to get him to control the nunchucks was kind of the big deal.
I'm a huge Butch Cassidy and Sundance fan. The opening of Butch and Sundance is the card game.
The way Chad pitched it to me was, remember in Enter the Dragon, when you first see Sammo Hung. Sammo Hung is a big set, you know, guy that fights Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. He's doing all these backflips, kicks, and yeah, you see him and you think, wow, that guy for his size, he can move.
That role was written for Scott Adkins. That was not an accident. He's from the low-budget martial art action world.
Chad's a big martial art nerd. So with Scott, I think he was like, I just want to put him in a suit so nobody knows who he is, and when he comes out and boom, he's a badass.
I think it's fun. I think the world that Chad created very smartly.
All right, John Wick 4. We're doing a little gunfight with the amazing Donnie Yen.
A little ode to John Woo.
Little John Woo.
A little hard-boiled.
A little hard-boiled.
Better Tomorrow. And the killer.
Chow Yun-Fat.
Chow Yun-Fat. Sliding on the ground, shooting at each other through glass. There couldn't be a more John Woo moment.
Here we go.
At the end of the day, you know, even though when you create something so unique, so special, it's always inspiration from something. But he created something on his own.
So you take the good, the bad, the ugly, and you put it together with Zatoichi, and you mix it all up in some Wong Kar-wai colors, and then you twist it on his head like a Tarantino film. Then you get a John Wick movie. Like, I try to rip off from the best.
We have some crazy beautiful sequences in John Wick 4 in ways that I've never seen in a film. They're so insane that I think people are going to struggle to understand what we actually filmed on set versus what we did later. It's pretty exciting to be a part of that, like something like the water sequence.
A Berlin nightclub sequence. I mean, there is not many times where you get 2 layers of waterfalls and get to choreograph fights with all those extras.
Do a John Wick movie, they said. It's going to be great fun. Getting rained on. Fighting Keanu Reeves.
It's fucking hard work, man. That was probably one of the greatest sets that I've worked on.
The waterfall, it's 30 feet long and 30 feet high, which is quite a number because to get this water up this high, it's very tricky. You need powerful pumps. And then Chad said, he wants to have more water because when the stunt guys swing a sword through the water, he wanted to see this spray when the sword goes through.
I like reflections. I mean, that's obvious with the amount of glass and water I do in these things. My dad has a plumbing background, and I saw this water feature that he'd done in a house 30 years ago. I'm like, I'm putting that in a movie someday. And now I have a $10 million set piece with waterfalls in it, using these water curtain features that I saw when I was a kid working for my dad.
People have been doing action scenes, Keanu included, in the first John Wick, where there's rain. But constant rain means it's constant, now you can deal with it. Whereas in the curtains of water, it was always a rush of water. It was kind of like getting waterboarded, but I think Scott and Keanu and Shamir handled it really well.
We have amazing martial artists, amazing movie stunt people. It's been awesome to work with these stunt people, and what they shared with us was the affection that they have for the John Wick films. And now it's gonna make me cry, but like with all the training and all the fighting, because John Wick action is a little different and asks just a little bit more. Because Chad wants reality, he wants Rex, he wants it to feel real, he wants the beautiful violence. So it's been so cool just to have their enthusiasm for the films, the enthusiasm to work on the show.
What other franchise can you put, 70 styles car chases, samurais, ninja, attack dogs?
Chapter 1's about the dog and the feelings around dogs, and Chad loves dogs. So in Chapter 3, we had the Malinois, and the Malinois, the dogs, they're back now in Chapter 4. The tracker, Shamir, has a Malinois, and there's some new next level stuff.
On John Wick 4, we have the 5 dogs, 3 girls, 2 boys, but only one on camera. Each one has their own repertoire of stunts they do, but all 5 have been on camera. They've all played a vital role, and hopefully the audience likes what we show them.
The dogs, they react to certain things, and one of the things that they're trained to attack are like neon green objects. So you can't wear neon green anywhere on set. So if you're wearing a neon green sweater, there's a 50-50 chance that you may or may not lose an arm.
John Wick always asks for just a little bit more. God bless it, which is good. It's what makes it special.